Welcome to our family room here, and in this video I want to introduce you to a sauna that is so different from any other sauna I've ever tried, and it's the SaunaSpace FireLight Super Sauna. This thing exists in several models, so I'm gonna tell you, the differences between this one and the base model, but on the outside it looks the same. Speaking of what it looks like, it obviously looks entirely different to any other sauna I've tried before. Most of them are wooden boxes, right? This one uses organic cotton fabric with a foundation here of basswood poles and stainless steel joints. So it's very different, already looks different, but the main differentiator really is the inside. You can see already here I have a couple of the bulbs turned on. Those are incandescent bulbs that get incredibly hot incredibly quickly. In reality, you turn this thing on and it's hot from the get-go. There is no preheating. That's really one of the benefits of this sauna, in addition of course to the type of light it delivers, especially compared to a standard infrared sauna, but also not from a light but from a heating perspective, a traditional sauna which typically uses high ambient air temperatures to solicit a benefit. And I'm just standing here in front and I'm sweating because I can actually feel the heat radiating from those light bulbs. So in this video I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about this type of sauna, why it's so different and what it means from a benefits perspective and also from a user's perspective. It is again so different to anything else that I've tried before, and by the time you're watching this you'll likely find an even more detailed review on my blog that goes into some of the science behind that different type of light that this sauna is emitting. But let's start with the outside. As I mentioned, organic cotton fabric. So one of the things that sets SaunaSpace apart is the use of materials. So they are not off-gassing, they are non-toxic, organic cotton, basswood, no glues, no stains, nothing that could potentially negatively impact your health when you are inside of that sauna. So a very clean, serene type of environment. Number two, let's talk about the heaters and then how you use this sauna, because that's also very different than any other sauna. So the way you use it basically is you sit on this stool that comes with it. It's also made out of, looks like basswood. Again, no glues, nothing. I got the optional stool cover as well as that mat here to soak up any sweat, because you will be sweating like a pig in here. But you can also use a towel if you don't have that. That's perfectly fine. That's what I used in the beginning actually. I just installed those guys today, so I'm very new to it as well, but I'm going to scoot to the side here a little bit. What I've got here is the Super Sauna I've mentioned. The Super Sauna, what it basically means is that it comes with 3 additional bulbs. I actually turned one off. You can turn them off individually up here as well. So you can really decide how high you want to have that heat, how hot you want to get that sauna. And then of course you have the option of moving closer or farther away from the heating elements, from the bulbs, depending on how much you can handle. Now, the way I typically start out is facing towards the light. So your core, your organs want to be exposed to the heat. That's the best way to quickly increase your core temperature. But let's talk about maybe those bulbs here a little bit, because they are, again, incandescent. They don't flicker like LED typically does, and they emit a lot of heat. If you remember from back in the old days, incandescent light bulbs, they produce like what, 80-90% heat and only 10 or so percent light. So those guys emit a lot of heat and they heat up instantaneously. So you turn it on and you can feel the heat. And if you're close enough to it, and if I have all of them turned on, it feels like I feel the burn on my skin. Now again, of course, you can move a little bit back. You can turn some of them off depending on how you want to do it. But if you want to have the quickest results at the end of the day, you enjoy that, you embrace that heat. And one cool thing about those light bulbs is that they emit the full spectrum of light, excluding some of the, I guess, more harmful frequencies. There is no blue light, there is no UV, etc. But from red to full spectrum infrared, all of that you get. So in other words, what you get really with the sauna is not only the typical sauna experience with the near infrared and far infrared and mid infrared, all of those good things from a full spectrum infrared perspective that can, improve how your mitochondria works, how your cells operate, that really leads to health improvements on a cellular basis. That's really some of the core principle of an infrared sauna. But you also get the full high intensity red light therapy as part of it. But it's kind of like having a red light panel and an infrared sauna, and both of them combined into a single unit. But this does it even better than the individual components, because the light source is so incredible. It's such a high quality, flicker free, high intensity light that you can't really get this without incandescent bulbs. And this is exactly what that sauna has. And again, I have the SuperSauna, which comes with the 3 additional bulbs. I have actually one turned off here because you can turn them off individually, either individually or in sets of 2, depending on the type of panel. It's typically per row. So the upper one, I can turn off the top one, or the 2 middle one, or the lower one. Well, I can turn them all off really, or 2 out of 3. But this is the setup here right now. And the advantage of having 2 panels in there is that you get full body coverage. And the way you start out, I'm gonna show you. You sit on the stool in front here. So I'm covered really from my shins to my face with red light. And the cool thing is I can really look into the red light. I mean, typically I close my eyes, but you could look into it and it's not painful. You know, it's not that you're staring into something that's gonna damage your eyes. It actually helps and improves the health of your eye, because those are all very healthful frequencies that you're getting. And I sit here for 4 to 5 minutes and I'm already sweating like a pig just in a few minutes, because the heat is just so intensive. And after a few minutes, I turn around and expose my side. Then again, I turn around, expose my back, and then the other side. And the whole session in this super sauna, because it has 2 panels and it gets so incredibly hot and has that full body coverage, takes 15 minutes, 16 minutes maybe. I typically do 4 to 5 minutes per side, so 16 to 20 minutes. It's a total time I spend in the sauna without having to preheat it. And that's really huge, because usually all my other saunas require preheating of 45 to 60 minutes. I mean, you know, I could get away with 30 minutes, but it's not really as hot as I would like it to be. This guy here is hot from the get-go. So the amount of time you spend doing sauna therapy, or the amount of time you have to take out of your day to do sauna therapy, is significantly less than any other sauna. You know, here 16 minutes instead of 45 minutes of preheating, and then, I mean, realistically 25 to 30 minutes in the sauna. That's over an hour. That's 75 minutes, give or take, versus 16 minutes here. That's huge for someone who is somewhat busy, you know, with livestock and homeschooling and all of the things that we do, recording videos, recording a podcast, writing for the blog. So the less time I get to spend on those routines, the more other things I can do. And I really like this. The other thing that I absolutely love about this sauna is that all of the bulbs, all of the electrical components are shielded. I mean, you'll see that in the B-roll, that every bulb has a Faraday cage, a metal mesh wire cage around it to prevent any electromagnetic fields from getting out. And the advantage of that is that you are in an EMF-free zone on the inside. At least you're not gonna get exposed to more EMFs than you are already, you know, here in your natural environment. But, and here is the extra cool thing that I like. You can see it down here. Here's they call it silver lining. It's the silver lining of the sauna. It's a silver fabric, or a fabric that has silver threads woven into it that also acts as a Faraday cage. And so this is an optional upgrade, but it turns the entire sauna into a Faraday cage. And what that means is that you're not only not exposed to EMFs from the sauna itself, but you're also shielded from everything that's around you. And so when I go into the sauna, I typically either take off my stuff or I put it into airplane mode for those devices that support it. I definitely leave my phone outside, or I turn into airplane mode. There's actually a little pocket up here where you can stick your phone in if you wanna, I don't know, listen to music. But while you're in there, you're EMF free. And that's awesome, because usually in our environment here, we are not. There's Wi-Fi, cellular towers, you know, microwaves, what have you. We're always exposed to man-made EMFs that in the long run, I'm almost certain we'll find out are not terribly good for our health. So an EMF-free zone you get with that sauna. There's also a bamboo grounding mat here. So that whole thing is actually grounded. There are grounding wires on the back that hook up to the power connections. And you get grounding while you're in there. You're EMF-free, and you get the full spectrum of red and infrared light that can significantly improve your health, your mood. You feel more energetic. You just feel better. And the cool thing is that sauna is also relatively small, and you can take it down and store it if you don't want to use it all the time. Now, I would argue, and there is actually a curtain in here that we can close, it doesn't look terrible. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, it's an accessory at the end of the day. Now, you know, we could argue about whether or not something looks good or not good, but I don't mind having this at all. I mean, we don't have a whole lot of space in this family room here. I mean, you can kind of see by the cameras, you know, you can see a lot of things that are going on here, but there is still room for a relatively small sauna. Now, it's a one-person sauna, so you're not gonna be in there with multiple people. That's maybe one of the downsides. And then the second downside, I would argue, is pricing. Even though, you know, the base model that comes with only 4 of the heating elements, or 4 bulbs instead of the 7 that I have in here, and it comes without the silver lining, is $5,000. Now, that's not pocket change, I understand, but compared to most other saunas, especially the ones where you can actually walk into or get into, it is reasonably priced, especially also considering that you don't need any special electrical setup. You can just plug those panels or the panel into the regular wall outlet. Nothing extra, no 240 volts connection that we need for our outside full spectrum infrared saunas. You can, move it away. This is lightweight. I mean, I can just move it and put it somewhere else if I wanted to, if I had the space. We don't. Highest quality infrared and red light therapy. You actually get 2 of those in one. You get the grounding, you get the EMF, at least not the additional exposure to EMF. There are no glues, there are nothing off-gassing, nothing toxic in that sauna that could potentially negatively impact your health, especially when your pores are open. And so overall, I think this is a solid type of investment that you will enjoy for a long time from a power consumption perspective. I mean, running those panels for an hour is what, maybe 16 cents or so. So it's not incredibly expensive to operate either. And the bulbs last for thousands of hours. So you every 5-6 years or whatever, you might have to replace those bulbs. That's obviously an additional cost, but also LEDs can burn out. My other full spectrum infrared sauna had to replace some of the LED panels because individual LEDs had burned out. So you'll have that with either one. But overall, I think it's an incredible value for what it delivers, and it makes sauna bathing, regular sauna bathing that is, so easy and convenient. Because one of the, my wife and I and the kids as well, we've seen this. If there is friction, it reduces the likelihood of you using the sauna. And by friction, I mean long preheat times, having to go downstairs to heat it up, and all of those things that are an inconvenience at the end of the day. Here, all I have to do is jump in, turn it off for now, real quick. You see? So I go in, turn them on, and they're hot immediately. There is no waiting, there is no preheating. There's just, getting in, spending 16 minutes in the sauna. Well, then you have to shower because you're sweating like a pig, but that is it. What is not to like? And going back to the pricing real quick, so $5,000, give or take, just under 5,000 actually, is the list price for the base model. The SuperSauna is about 6,500, so you get the extra panels that reduces your session time by 50%. That, time is money, depending on who you are and how much your time is worth. But by spending $1,500 more, you can cut your session time in half to, those 16 minutes I've mentioned. Otherwise, you'll probably be in there for 25-30 minutes, give or take. And then the silver lining here, silver is expensive, which shouldn't surprise you. That costs also, I think, just over $1,000 or so, $1,200 maybe, I don't know exactly. I'll have it on the screen. But all of this together, if you really upgrade to everything that they have to offer, it's over $8,000. So it's not inexpensive at this point anymore, but you don't need all of the upgrades. You can you can start out with the regular one, and then later on maybe say, I'm going to get an extra panel, or I'm going to add the silver lining, etc. So you have choices. You don't have to do it all at the same time. But overall, it's a super interesting sauna that's different, that's incredibly effective, and that I've truly enjoyed using. When I'm in there, you can feel that heat. I wish I could, kind of convey how it feels on your skin, that heat. And I've had this many times in the past where I'm like in the sun, maybe we're on vacation somewhere where the sun is super strong, and you feel your skin tingling because the heat of the sun is so intense. You get the same experience in there. This is really, you get almost the same light frequencies as sunlight without the UV and the blue lights, etc. But if you get close enough, if you turn on all of the bulbs, the heat is just incredibly intense, and it's so deeply penetrating that you can actually use it for muscle recovery and to, if you have an injury, for example. So the other day, I tweaked my lower back a little bit doing deadlifts, and I went in there and I went super close, and I felt the tingling on my back, and I got out and I felt so much better because all of the blood flow that went into the muscles here and some of the tissue where, my muscles attached down here, it's incredible. I really like it. I love it. And I think it's a great sauna you should check out. If I have discount codes and any affiliated links, I'm going to put them down there in the description. Check it out. Let me know. What do you think about this sauna? Have you tried it before? Have you heard about it? What do you think about incandescent light, full spectrum red, full spectrum infrared versus traditional saunas or traditional quote unquote infrared saunas? Let me know in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. And with that, we're going to wrap it up. Until next time.